Hello, and welcome back to the I'm Only Human podcast.
I'm Africa.
And I'm Busara. And this is our, now it's probably like our 7th episode.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, well, something like that. Sorry that we don't know. Today, we're talking about success, okay? Success, kind of the different definitions of success. Everybody's idea of success looks differently, but just going into detail and kind of in terms of that, because I know that in society, with success and seeing other people in social media and how other people live their lives, it's easy for you to feel like compare yourself and to feel like you're not doing enough. But whatever your idea of a success is, that's your idea of success. And if you fit into that category, you're successful. So in terms of me, I'll start with me. My idea of success is being happy, healthy, and wise, I would say. So healthy, wealthy, and wise. It doesn't have anything to do with financial. It has to do with internal and the way that you treat others. And if you are a good person and you have a good intentions and you do what you love and you take care of yourself and you love your life and just who you are, regardless of how much money's in your bank account, and I feel like that's the ultimate idea of success. So what about you? What would you say that your idea of success is, your definition?
I actually love this topic because my idea of success is ultimately what makes you happy, what helps you to thrive, what helps you to become a better version of you, what helps you sleep at night, what helps you be at peace, and what helps you be free. And so this is ironic that we're having this conversation because so often in the groups that I have with my clients, they talk about how they're upset, or they're disappointed with themselves because their parents maybe have spoken about how they feel like they should be further ahead in life than what they are, and with them struggling with addiction that they missed out, or they missed out on opportunities, and their parents maybe just have a say or pass judgment, or can be really, really critical about where they are in life and how much damage their addiction has caused them. So when they come to my groups and they talk about these things, I say, well, listen, if you truly believe that whatever is for you is already yours, then you're exactly where you're supposed to be, And it's cool because I was literally having a conversation with some clients today, and there was a gentleman who was expressing that he is very skillful in certain areas, like very talented in certain areas, but every time he goes back to addiction, things just get worse and worse and worse. So there have been so many people who have talked about how good they are at doing certain things. They're good on the job, and they feel like when they're successful and thriving and progressing, that they feel good about themselves. But then they enter a space of self-sabotage. They mess everything up, and they're like, Miss Africa, I don't know why I mess everything up when I'm being successful, when I'm making progress, when I start making movement, and when I start, adopting a healthier lifestyle. And one of the main things that always comes up is that people self-sabotage because they're afraid of their own success. And so sometimes, and in many cases, I feel like success and the idea of it actually being a reality is scarier than us just accepting our failures, because at least we know what to expect in our failures. Nobody can expect any more or any less of us if we're just either doing nothing or barely doing enough just to get by. So we're not even applying ourselves in the way that we really would, again, if we were in pursuit of what we really wanted. And so again, I take it back to the things that my clients have said. I'm afraid of success because I know that if I start being successful and maybe I make an error somewhere or I make a mistake somewhere, then the same people who knew me and my troubles and my addiction are going to be the same people burning me at the stake and laughing at me as I tend to excel in the things that I know. And that fall in success is going to be harder than if I just stay comfortable in my failures.
Yeah, no, 100%. I agree with that. I want to take it back to, I feel like this ties into our podcast episode that we talked about the underlying issues with parents. And in that podcast, when we talked about how there's a lot of times there are parents that try to live through their children, and with that, those children, their idea of success is altered by their parents' perception of it, and they grow up thinking, okay, well, I'm not successful until I do this, that, and the third. A lot of people, especially in the society, success is looked at in the societal norms as you have money, you have a degree, you have material things to show for whatever you have, right? Exactly. And I know a lot of times that's just what we look, like I said, social media, we see that. And then when we do things outside of that, which is not necessarily go to college to get a degree, or you're being an entrepreneur and you're just trying to do something that you want and follow your heart, a lot of times people look at you at the start like you are crazy, or like you're like, oh, why did you take that route? You know, that's not really going to work out well. A lot of people don't that doesn't really work out for a lot of people. And so a lot of times that can get into people's minds. I could say for me, I was always a person, you know, that wanted to go to college and when I was growing up. And then when I got to my senior year, out of seeing my sister and then just people around me in terms of just how if you don't have all the money to pay for your college in full, how it goes. Okay, you have to get, you know, scholarships or, you know, loans and so on and so forth. And I was always a person that was big on not wanting debt, because I've heard about it, like debt, you know. I looked at that too, like, okay, if you have debt, that's not really successful. Like, you know, like I want to not have debt and kind of climb up there. So the reason I didn't go to college was, you know, other reasons, but one of the main ones is just because, you know, not being able to pay for, you know, for college. And college, society makes you feel like you have to do it right then. It's like, no, college is the thing you can enroll at any time. It doesn't matter what age you are. So why not do it when you are settled and you have a home and you have a job that is able to provide for yourself and you're able to do it with ease? I feel like that's more successful than just going into it because your parents said, or you feel like this is something that you have to do. Now, with me, I went right into the workforce, and though I'm sure there was people in the family that kind of looked at it like, damn, like, where is this going to go? I, you know, went into restaurant management and so on and so forth, and all of the success, the accolades in terms of, you know, people saying I'm proud of you, that came just because I was doing my best and working the hardest that I could, and I saw the vision for myself. I always say people are going to think that something is impossible until if they've never seen it done before, they're going to think it's impossible. So you can't allow other people's perceptions and what their views of something is, or their definition of success, and alter the way that you feel inside of you, because ultimately you're the only person that can say if you're successful or not. And I know also a lot of times, you know, obviously, like I said, I had a full-time job, so I was making money and I'm able to provide for myself. I'm not having to pay for school because I'm not in school, so I'm able to build my credit and make sure that everything is good, and just like the regular adulthood that people have just outside of having to pay student loans or debt of any kind. And then, you know, moved to California, and you know some things, you know, went down with that, but I felt it was I felt when I moved to California, though it was a big change, something in it, because I wasn't making money wasn't coming through exactly how it was before, it was something in me that was like, damn, like, are you failing? You know, are you failing, or did you fail? Obviously, you know, I moved back here now and still, you know, getting myself together to be able to get back to the point that I was, or even a better point. I'm not going to say I want to get back to where I was. I know that wherever I'm going to be next is going to be higher. But in that point, right, greater. But in that point, I felt that what you were saying that some of your clients felt, where it's like, damn, like, you know, it's really like a depressive state where it's just like, damn, like, I'm not doing what I was before. I'm not caring for myself how I used to, and financially. And it's all financial. It's all about money, because I still am a good person. I still make sure that I, you know, take care of my animals and myself, and and so on and so forth. So when I really look at it, it's nothing really changed except for what was in my bank account. And when I look at that, all the things that I learned throughout this whole experience and all the different stages that I was at, I would say I don't regret it, because that is what makes me successful. Because now I have all these things under my belt and these experiences that I wouldn't have had if I stayed in I'm comfortable here. You know, I'm comfortable because I don't want to fail, or I don't want to. I'd rather be in this small success than being able to take the failures and the L's, so that I can get to the point where I can be great and still be successminal. So with that, I know that a lot of people, and like I said, I know that on our YouTube, I know that a lot of our subscribers is a male dominant, like male audience, right? And so I know a lot of times for men too, or just people that are, you know, more dominant, or and that take on the provider role, it's oftentimes it's hard to be able to kind of feel like, okay, I'm successful if you're not where you necessarily want to be in life. But all that matters is that you are a good person and that you're working towards whatever that you want. It doesn't matter what other people see, because we come from all different walks of life. So there could be someone that had $1 million set aside for them, and they feel like success is, you know, doing something on their own, a job that they might have, because it's like they got everything by themselves. Like, oh, well, I'm successful because I actually made my first $1,000 by myself. That might be success for somebody, while another person, it's like, no, I'm not successful till I make $1 million. It's all about your mindset and how you feel. So whatever anybody else says, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day, because it has nothing to do with you, and how they feel, it has nothing to do with you, and how you feel has nothing to do with them. But I know that is a real thing that I don't even know what we can call it. I'm going to look it up to see, but it's like when you're at a point where you're able to provide, and then you're at a kind of block in the road where it's like, damn, like something kind of fell through, so you're not really at that now. And it kind of is like, damn, like, will I ever get back to, you know, to a point where, you know, I'm good, and so on and so forth. And I know how that feels, but that all goes hand in hand with your success story, and, you know, ultimately where you'll be if you just keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. I really love what you were saying, because it's a discouragement that we feel when we've kind of hit a brick wall and we're wondering what's going to happen. Or, oh, I've worked up to this point and I thought everything was going fine. Yeah. Okay, well, what has happened? And then I start to question my own self-worth and my self-value. And we start to say, well, because I am faced with this challenge, or because I am faced with opposition, then this must mean that I'm not good enough, or this must mean that I'm not strong enough,
or it's over for me,
And then on top of that, when we see or when we think other people are surpassing us, then we feel like, oh, maybe I was the one that made a mistake somewhere, because people who were doing the same thing that I was doing, they seem to be fine. So we tend to compare our behind the scenes to somebody else's front of the scenes. And then it's just like,
not even knowing their whole story.
Not even knowing the whole story. So we tend to draw hardcore conclusions based on pieces of information instead of seeing the big facts and seeing the bigger perspective. This also reminds me of a story that my father once told me, and I believe my father told me this story, but either way, I know that I heard it. And so I think one of the things that we covered in our podcast is how sometimes our parents can try to fix their mistakes through us as their children.
That's the underlying issues with parents episode.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, for instance, there was a young man whose father was a business owner, and his grandfather and great-grandfather was a business owner as well. So they had a family business, and the father was expecting his son to go to school for business, but that's not what the son wanted to do. And he let his father and mother know, hey, when I go to college, I want to go to do this. Instead, I don't want to go to school to be a businessman. And the father said, well, listen, if you don't go to school to become a business major, then I'm not paying for your college. I'm not going to support you. And so it was then where the son really had to make a decision.
Right,
But the one, actually, that wasn't the story my father told me, but the one that he did tell me had to do with this lawyer, this guy who became a lawyer, really successful. I mean, and when I say successful, I mean thriving with his job and his position, helping people, making sure that proper documentation was taken care of by the end of the day. I mean, he took care of business as him being a lawyer. So one day he's just like, I am just so tired. I don't know what's going on here. I'm frustrated with things going on at the job. I'm just exhausted. I don't have any energy. So finally, he decided that he was going to seek therapy. And so he goes to the therapist, and throughout the sessions, of course, the therapist has to record what the client is saying. And so one day they had a session, and after the session, the therapist looks at the client and he says, you don't want to be a lawyer. You became a lawyer because your father wanted you to be a lawyer. And it was at that point that the man then started to take personal inventory. And he was able to identify how he even got into the position that he was in. He really was not happy being a lawyer. But oftentimes people spin success, like, as you were saying, having a lot of money, okay? Having a nice car or nice several cars in a beautiful home, and if you have a home, then it has to have a certain look. You have to have you have to live in a particular kind of neighborhood.
A certain amount of acres.
Right, and then you have to have, a wife and children, and that if you don't, then you're not successful and that you didn't make it. And so what I have found over the years, because my parents definitely encouraged me and my brothers to go on ahead and do what we needed to do, whether that was college or going into trade school or going into the workforce, whatever, that we really just needed to figure it out. Now, my father was a doctor, and he knew that whatever it was that we wanted to do, that he would support us, but he let it be clear, you don't have to do what I did, but you need to do something. You need to do something. Whatever it is, I don't care. I'm going to support you. And that whatever job you have, whether you're scrubbing toilets, whether you're a janitor, or whether you're a waiter or a waitress, do that job to the best of your ability. It doesn't matter what it is. Don't sit there and say, oh, well, because, I'm just cleaning hotel rooms. It's going to be mediocre. I'm just going to clean a little bit, or I'm just going to straighten up a little bit, or I'm not really going to provide good customer service to anybody who walks through the doors of business. No, top tier in everything you do.
No, 100%. And again, I think that people also with that, in terms of their work ethic, they base that off of how much they're making. But here's the thing: that's how you get laid off, and you're not looked at as someone as of importance. And that's what I realized too. When you go hard at whatever you do, it doesn't matter what it is. If your thought is to master that, you're going to be needed in wherever you're at, or you're going to be desired somewhere else, and you're able to show forth what you have. So it doesn't matter if you're working at McDonald's, like she said, working at McDonald's, a janitor, you're a trash man, whatever it is that you're doing, bump the amount that you're getting paid. If you're literally doing whatever you can, and you're putting your hard work in, and the effort and your work ethic, and you're just putting that in all the time, and to the best of your ability, it's going to pay off, because either you're going to be looked at as an employee that's like, oh yeah, if we got to cut people, we're definitely not going to cut them because they do their job 10 times better than all of these people. Or it's going to be like, okay, if they're looking for a promotion or whatever, like, you never know. So when you are doing stuff just because of what other people may think, that's when you find yourself you're cutting yourself short, rather than, no, I'm doing what I know is right, and how I would want, if I was the boss, how I would want my employees to work. And if you do that and you have that mindset, automatically you're going to be successful, because even though you don't have to, you're still ensuring that you have a different mindset than most people, and that's going to automatically take you from here to here, regardless if it takes a year, 2, 3, 10 years. At least you can say to your next employer, hey, I made sure I didn't have to do this, but I'll go above and beyond in everything that I do. And that's something that, if you know that you're doing it, they can tell. They see the confidence in it. They're like, okay, wow, we're definitely going to pick this person over this person. And also now in society, because of the way that it is, a lot of times experience is, the people with experience are going to be looked at more than the people with the degree, because yes, you sat in school and got your degree, but they want the experience, to see that you have some experience before you can even get the job. So I know that's a lot of people that went to college. Like, there are a lot of people right now, especially in my generation, like, I went to college, and because my parents wanted me to, or just because I want the money, I got this degree because of the money that comes with it. But now I've been looking for a job in my degree, and now I'm just like everybody else, working at McDonald's, or working at I'm saying McDonald's, but you know what I mean, just in terms of those jobs that people look at on a lower scale. They find themselves there trying to get something, because they can't get the job that they wanted with their degree, because the passion is maybe not to that extent. Because when you're passionate about something, it doesn't matter if you got the degree or not. You're going to try to find, okay, what can I do? What experience can I get? If you want to be a veterinarian, okay, I don't have the degree yet, but I'm going to go to the SPCA, or I'm going to go to the animal shelters and see what can I do on my off time. If I want to be a police officer, I'm going to go and see, hey, is there anything at the police station? Is there anything I could do here? Just because when you follow your heart and you do stuff because you want to, and you do stuff because you see the vision in it, and not just because it comes with the money, that's when you really can ensure that your life will be in the way that you want, because you're doing it because you want to. It's not about the money. It's not because, oh, like, I'm doing this so that I can then be successful, because everybody's going to look at me because I got that big house and I got the car, but now I'm paying off these student loans for the rest of my life. And my parents did say, I'm proud of you. So, I mean, that feels good, but something in me is not fulfilled, because now I'm still just doing this job and working to try to pay off stuff, instead of, no, I'm fulfilled in this because this is what I wanted to do. And now my success is even greater because I'm the best at what I do because I wanted to do it. And I worked so hard, and people might have said that it wasn't going to work out, but everything works out when you put your best effort into it. It's going to work out because you put in your best effort, and there's no one that can compare with you, because you're the best.
Right.
You've mastered it. You want to be the best, and you are the best because you're actually putting in that effort to be the best, rather than, okay, I'm a doctor, I'm an average doctor, but I'm not necessarily the best doctor, but I just want to be a doctor. I'm not saying I want to be the best. No, if you're going to do something, be the best. Be the best. Don't do it and not want to be the best.
Yeah,
no,
your
stand
best.
out. Yeah, and yes, your best. It doesn't matter. I mean, just like with the Grammys, I feel like when people are like, "Oh, this person shouldn't have won this, that, and the third," other people's opinions of what is the best has nothing. It doesn't mean that it's the same for you. So yes, whatever is the best for you, that's the best. It doesn't matter what anybody else says. You could be on Forbes or whatever, or thebestdoctors.com, and you might be number 100 and somebody else number 1, but you could feel like you're better than the number 1. Okay, then you are. Like you're the best. Whatever is the best for you, then do that. But just make sure that you're doing it. Make sure that you're putting the best effort at whatever you do. It doesn't matter how small it is. Just make sure that you're doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. In listening to you speak, was just kind of reminded about a couple of things. And I remember I was having a conversation with this gentleman once, and he said, Miss Africa, even to this day, as a 50-something-year-old man, it still matters to me as to what my father thinks about me. He said, my whole life, I have done everything he's wanted me to. And he's like, if he asked me to do front flips and back flips and come up with a whole dance routine, I would have done it, and still that wouldn't have been good enough for him. He said, Miss Africa, I've been successful, in ways that my father encouraged me to be. And I became those things. And still to this day, as a grown man, I continue to seek his validation and acceptance. And when I don't get it, it bothers me. My whole life, all I wanted for him to do was love me. And I thought that by me meeting his expectations or whatever he said, that then I would feel complete. He said, but Miss Africa, it wouldn't even matter if I got a job at NASA. That still wouldn't be good enough for my father. Yeah. And I said, and there's the thing, because again, going back to something that we covered even in one of our last videos, how our parents will oftentimes try to fix their mistakes through their children. And my thing is, it doesn't matter if you're at your lowest low or your highest high, it's still not going to be good enough for people. And so the thing that I feel like his father was really wanting was that perfection, but even perfection wasn't enough for his father.
He wasn't perfect, because if he was, he would have been.
And he wasn't perfect either, but oftentimes we tend to focus on things on the outside of us, so we don't have to face the stuff inside of us that's hurting us. So, you may have done this and you've done that. Oh, but that little thing right there, oops, you didn't do it. So it's not worth it, or it's not quality, or that's not success now because of that thing that was out of place. And so again, so many people are challenged by not just their own thoughts, them being a negative Nancy or a negative Nathan, but even other people's thoughts and comments that are made towards them. And it's just like, okay, well, again, where do I fit in all of this? And when I am successful, okay, well, then I'm going to rub it in people's faces. For all of the people who said, this about me, or tried to make me feel bad, or making it feel like my best wasn't good enough, that when I do become successful, I'm just going to rub it in people's faces, right? So I'm going to boast and brag,
that's what people want. Like, look at
I want to get people to do that.
To get back,
It's very, very interesting too, how even if we feel like we've become successful, there are oftentimes things that we have asked for that we don't even realize that we have gotten. And I will use this as a perfect example. A gentleman was talking to me, and he said, Miss Africa, I remember when I was doing really well, I was thriving, and I was making a lot of progress. I felt really, really good about myself. And then I finally got the car that I wanted. I think he said it was a Mercedes. That was his car that he liked, okay? So he got the car that he wanted. He said, I went to the gas station to fill up on gas, and as I'm filling up my tank, I look over at another gas tank or a gas pump, and I notice a man who has this beautiful car, and he's filling up his tank too. And he said, Miss Africa, immediately when I saw that man in that car, I said, man, if only I had his car, I would feel happy. I would feel better about myself. Well, he went over that in his head for a little bit, only to discover the man had the same car, just a different color. And when he caught that, he said, wow, look at that. I prayed for something, or I asked for something, and I got it, and I didn't even realize I had it. I was so busy looking at somebody else and comparing what they had to be the equivalent of my happiness. And I realized that none of that even matters. So ultimately, with him saying that, he really wasn't confident within himself. He really didn't believe in himself, because that showed that he was constantly looking at things on the outside of him, things to validate him on the outside so he could feel fulfilled in the inside. And it just won't work.
And so the question is, are you going to live for you, or are you going to live for someone else? And society wants, I'm going to tell you, society wants you to live for someone else. Society wants you to be in the box that they teach us in school, and to sit down and to do everything that everybody else does. But are you going to be that percentage that's going to do what you want and make something amazing out of it? Or are you going to be that percentage that stays down and just like, damn, like, I guess I can't wait till I get like that when I grow up and like that. It's like, no, wherever, like she said, whatever is for you is for you. So wherever you're at in the moment, whatever you've been through, it's supposed to happen, because that just means that it's your testimony to what is going to come in the future. But if you're not able to see, if you're not grateful for what you have, and gratitude is key. I always say that. Gratitude is key. If you are grateful for the smallest things, it doesn't matter. If you find a way to look at the good instead of the bad, the good will come. But again, society wants you to always look at the bad, like, well, yeah, I have that, but I don't have this and I don't have that. And that's when the bad things start happening, because you're in that negative mind. You're in that, and God will humble you real quick. If He's been giving you, He's given you, and He's saying, okay, you're doing progress. I'm gonna show you, like, yeah, but you're overlooking the stuff that He's given. He's gonna humble. He's gonna take it away and be like, okay, so maybe you need to be right here, back here again, so that you can see what I did give and what you didn't really realize. So it's up to you if you're going to take it the next time that you get it and be like, okay, well, let me sit in this and just be grateful for what I do have and what I have done. A lot of times we're not able to congratulate ourselves and feel proud of ourselves for even the smallest things, because we feel like, well, somebody else did this. Like, why am I celebrating? It does not matter what anybody else did. If you have done something that you've never done before, and something that you wanted to do, and that you finally got it, celebrate, be happy for you, be ecstatic for you. It doesn't matter if your family's not as ecstatic as you, or your friends, or whatever. If you celebrate yourself, because that matters, because if you don't, then you're going to be in that, like, damn, like, yeah, I got to do more. I got to do more. I got to be more productive. I got to get it. And you're going to be selling yourself short, because you're going to be always worried about what you're not doing rather than what you are doing and what you have in front of you, and being grateful for that and allowing for the other good things to come your way.
Yeah, I really like what you were saying, because even as you were talking about our being grateful or lack thereof, one of the things that I was going to say, that God will humble you very, very quickly, because again, as you were saying, hey, you're not even paying attention to or realizing all of the good things that have taken place. You're too busy focusing on the negative
future
stuff.
And what you want, and then just like,
right.
So, we're not there yet. Slow down, man.
Right. You'll cross that bridge when you get there. But even with what you were saying, it brought two things to mind. Okay. So we know 2 + 2 = 4, right? Now let's just say the 4, which is the answer, is the equivalent or stands for the success, right? So the world, society has created this formula, and let's just say the formula is 2 + 2, which that equals 4. Well, can we or can we not agree that there's more than one way to solve for 4, right? So 1 + 1 + 1 + 1
or even just
equals 4.
4
you
minus
can even
0.
do times
4 minus 0. Like 4 times 1. Like
right.
Yes.
Anything to solve that would get you 4, right? So again, I just want to say, everybody's going to have their opinions on how to be successful and how to get there, but there's more than one way to skinning a cat.
Yeah.
And my father always used to tell me and my brothers when we were growing up, opinions are like derrieres. Everybody's got one, and they are all odoriferous. The other thing I wanted to say has to do with us just feeding ourselves those positive affirmations and us being kind to ourselves no matter what. And I not long ago asked my clients what the difference was, or if there was a difference between happiness and joy. And they gave me their feedback, and some of them were saying, well, I feel like happiness is long term and joy is just a particular moment. Some people were saying it in the opposite, right? And so after getting feedback from my clients, I said, well, this is what I want to explain. When it comes to happiness, that is just a moment. Happiness is a moment. So for instance, I came over and you had dinner prepared, right? I'm happy that you did that, right? Or maybe I called somebody and I just wanted to let them know that I was thinking of them. Okay, happy. I'm happy in that moment. But mere joy is treating triumph and disaster just the same. So when I say disaster, it doesn't have to be catastrophic, but those moments when you find yourself feeling low or feeling like, I don't really know that I did my best. I don't really know that I tried that hard, or I did try and things didn't happen the way that I thought they would, and I'm just feeling down on myself. True joy is finding that light in the darkness. Because that right there, that light is what's going to pull you out of that dark space. Don't ask me why, but it tends to be the darkness that takes over more than the light. But guess what? They both complement each other because they have to coexist in order for there to be balance in the world.
And all it takes is a little light to take the dark away.
All it takes is a little light, but may that light be at your feet and highlight your pathway to get you out of that space and find gratitude in all of it. Because guess what? If I was only in the dark, I wouldn't know what the light is. And if I was only in the light, then I wouldn't know what the darkness is. I would have nothing to compare to. So this really is about lessons in us learning from our experiences and saying, you know what? I had that experience, which was a little uncomfortable for me, or I had that experience and that was really comfortable for me. I like that. What can I take away from both of those things? Oh, the learning experience. What did I learn from both of those things that are helping me to be a stronger and better version of myself? And that, my friends, is the real success. Because until you get this and this together, you can forget about anything else.
Nothing else is going to matter. You're just going to keep finding yourself in similar situations.
Yes, absolutely.
Different people. And society, it's it's okay, I'll say American society, it's not programmed for everyone to be able to thrive. That's why only few do get to a point where they are making, where they're not even ever worrying about money or the financial aspect or anything, and their family's not worrying about anything. But it took for them to go through things. There's nobody that didn't have to go through anything. Rather, whether you came from money or not, everyone has to go through things. And society often likes to, the shows that are put out as kids, the stuff that, you know, that our minds see, that and certain shows or just social media, and that is subconsciously making our brain, turning our brain a different way. And it makes us want to ponder in negativity. And so we have two different minds. I often say it's like similar to like an angel and a devil on the shoulder. Like you have your negative mind and your positive mind. Most times we're in our negative mind. That negative mind is like that self-conscious. Well, it makes you feel self-conscious. It makes you feel insecure. It makes you think about what other people could be thinking, like, oh, maybe somebody's thinking my hair is not good and this, that, and the third. It's that part of your mind that wants you to be aware so that other people won't be able to see something that you may not be able to see, or that you don't know. When your positive mind is the one that's just carefree, where you're just like, I'm doing me, I love my life, hello, how you guys doing? That outgoing, that not worried about what anybody else is doing. I don't care how I look, I don't care what anybody thinks, I'm doing me. And when you're in that negative mind, that's when the negative things will start to happen. You'll see, okay, you feel a little, maybe somebody will say something negative, and will, you know, you'll see some negative stuff maybe happen in your life, or bad things will start to happen. But when you're in that positive mind, where like she said, you're only seeing the good. No matter if something bad happens, you're only deciding to stay in that positive side. You're only going to get good things from it, because you're deciding to say, hey, that happened, man. Like I'm not allowing that to, I'm not pondering on that. I'm just going to keep going. And yeah, but what I learned from this it did happen. What I learned from this is this, then the third. Now I know next time, okay, this, then the third. Oftentimes I want to compare, I know our uncle Johanse, he had said one time, he was like that people, especially when it comes to sports, like if they're, for instance, we could say the Super Bowl happened just, you know, recently. The Eagles fans, okay, you know, they're happy probably for about maybe a week. We could say a week. Maybe a week, everybody's just happy, like, ooh, yeah, we won this, then the third. But I bet you if they lost, just like how the Chiefs did, they're going to be pondering on that for, it may be even 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, like, damn, like, we lost, like, I can't even work, like, I'm messed up, like, people like, damn, like, just, we allow ourselves to ponder in the negativity longer than the positive, and the negativity longer than the positive. Why is that? Because with the positive, we feel like a lot of times, oh, like, get over it, like, you're being too happy, you're being too whatever. No, it should be the other way around. No, ponder in the positivity of anything. Don't sit in the negativity, because that's not doing anything for you but bringing bad things, because now you're sitting and you're not out there getting it and making sure that you're being productive, rather than this was a good day, now I'm gonna go and say some nice things to people because I'm happy, and this whole month I'm happy, so I'm gonna just, you know, make sure that I spread that positivity to other people. It's not often reciprocated, and we have to really look at that and see why. And if you're somebody that does that, if it's specific towards you, if you have good things that happen in your life and you see yourself, okay, for that day maybe you're happy, but when negative things happen, you're sad for the whole longer than that. You have to really look at that and see, because that's not how it should be. You deserve to be celebrated, and you deserve to be happy and not have to be in your negative mind all the time, because you get to choose which one you want to be in.
Yeah, and I was gonna say too that I think I can say we in this, we don't want you to get confused and think, oh, we're just saying, oh, to discard how you feel and just only focus on the positive and just avoid the negative stuff. No, when you experience things that are unpleasant in your life, a part of having that light in the darkness is being able to work through those things. But what we're talking about is people or individuals who struggle with getting out of that dark place, and they just sit there, they harbor there, and they don't do anything. They're so defeated, or they feel so discouraged to move on and to actually continue making progress because they feel like that one error or that one mistake demolished everything.
The
so there's
world.
no point
Right.
in moving. And so that's not what we're saying.
Right.
But again, if I'm gonna be at the top, I've got to know what it's like to be at the bottom.
Yeah.
And so with that being said, again, it doesn't matter what I go through. But especially the difficult stuff, the stuff that we're kicking and screaming and cursing about, those are the things that actually sharpen us. Those are the things that actually refine us. And a lot of us, we don't like to go through our process, right? So if I said, okay, Busara, you're coming in, you talk to me about your problems and so on, as soon as the pruning begins and we start pulling off the things that were uncomfortable, meaning we're working through those things, you start to feel uncomfortable. And it can be like really discouraging because in that process of the pruning stages, we might want to throw in the towel and say, this is too difficult. This is too much for me. But guess what? In order to be made whole, you have to show up broken. And in order for you to show up broken, right, you have to say, okay, I'm going to choose to take some personal inventory. I realize that this, that, and the third have been getting in my way. And they've also tended to show up in areas of my life, and that they just affect those areas. They have a negative impact, and it doesn't matter where I am. So because I didn't deal with my problems, now my problems are dealing with me. And if your problems deal with you, you could be hanging on by a thread. But I wanted to say, even with that being said, if I walked in here with a whole cake and it was beautiful, decorated, it tastes good, we cut into it, the colors, everything is exceptional, and you could have it with a cup of coffee or whatever it is that you want, that cake did not just show up whole like that. It had to go through a process. It was separate ingredients before it was made whole. We had the flour, the eggs, the butter, the sugar, any extracts that we may have used, baking powder, right? And anything else that may have consisted of making that cake. And so once those ingredients are blended together, a transition starts to happen, right? And then when we put the cake in the oven, it goes through another transition because it just went from one room temperature to a hotter temperature to get a particular result. Then we take it out of the oven, we let it cool. That's another transition because as soon as oxygen hits it, it starts transforming. So then once it's cooled off, then we start icing it and decorating it to our liking. But even then, we're still not done because then we take a bite of it, right? And that right there would be us reaping the benefits of the work that we put in when we start cutting pieces of it.
And enjoy it.
And enjoying it. And we don't enjoy ourselves enough. We do not give ourselves the credit.
Self-love
where credit is due. It's the self-love. It always comes back to the self-love, right? It always comes back to the self-love. So again, in order to be made whole, you must show up broken. And oftentimes, we'd rather take the easier route than to go through our process because the process is going to take longer and we don't want to be refined. We don't want to be pressed. We don't want to be molded. We don't want to be sharpened. We don't want to be sanded down. But I guarantee you the finished product is going to be amazing. So just go through what you got to go through and you can do it. You're not going to die. It may feel like it, but you're going to make it.
Yes, 100%. So again, that comes down to, like we said, self-love. And my question for you is, are you going to live for you or going to live for someone else? I thank you guys for tuning in to our podcast. Please make sure you like, comment, subscribe, turn on those post notifications, and we will see you next week.